And they'll reset. Nowitzki again for the lead. Bang!
What's up, Mavs fans? Welcome into All Things Mavs. I'm your host, Jimmy Crowther, and today I'm previewing the Mavs Wednesday night matchup against the Atlanta Hawks as they look to avoid losing their 7th straight game this season. If the Mavs lose this game against the Hawks, that would be 7 straight losses, which would be tied with the Minnesota Timberwolves for the most consecutive losses of this season. The Timberwolves did it after winning their first 2 games of the year and then dropped 7 in a row. So Dallas is going to look to avoid breaking that unfortunate record for 2021 or tying that unfortunate record for this season. No injuries to report for the Dallas Mavericks, thankfully, and thank goodness, because it's been an injury-ridden season, but now Dallas is 100% healthy for the 2nd game in a row. Tyler Bey and Nate Hinton will be the 2 inactive players. Of course, when you have a fully healthy roster, you can only have 15 active players, and Nate Hinton and Tyler Bey, being the 2 two-way guys, will both be inactive. I know some of you guys really want to see Tyler Bey out on the floor for defensive purposes, but not going to happen in this one. However, for the Atlanta Hawks, there are quite a few injuries to report. Kris Dunn and Bogdan Bogdanovic, as most of you probably know, are already out. Kris Dunn is set to be reevaluated on February 12th, so luckily right after the Mavericks play them. And then Bogdanovic is out indefinitely. He will miss quite a bit of time. Now, Onyeka Okongwu, their rookie out of the draft this year with their first-round pick, who I really liked at USC, a really good defensive big man, hasn't played a lot this year due to a toe injury and also like an Achilles injury, not a major one like an Achilles tear or anything like that, but he is questionable for this game. He did not play against the Lakers on Monday night in the Hawks' last game. And then the big one, DeAndre Hunter, who is usually in their starting 5, was listed as day-to-day, but now as of the 4:30 p.m. Central Time injury report, he is being listed as out for the Hawks. Now, there are reports coming out that he will be reevaluated tomorrow before the game, so if anything changes, I'll have the update for you probably on the community tab of my channel, so make sure you're subscribed and you got your little notification bell on, because if you don't have your notifications on, you're going to miss it. But DeAndre Hunter has been pretty spectacular for the Hawks this year, so him missing this game is going to be a big one. He's averaging 17.2 points per game for Atlanta, and that's second on the team behind only Trae Young. 5.4 rebounds per game. He's shooting 36.6% from 3, and he leads the team. Yes, that's right. He's better than John Collins and Clint Capella when it comes to 2-point percentage. He's shooting 60.9% from inside the 3-point arc. So that's anywhere from mid-range to finishing around the rim. DeAndre Hunter is a kid that came out of Virginia a few years back, and I really, really liked him. That was in the John Morant, Zion Williamson draft that Hunter came out. And I liked him coming out. Didn't play a lot in his rookie year. Played a lot in this 2nd year so far, and he has looked fantastic. Now, looking at Atlanta as a whole, they've been a very up and down team. I mean, they're 10-10. They're sitting at 500, and Hawks fans will let you know about it on Twitter. And they've beaten some good teams. They've beaten the Memphis Grizzlies, who have been good this year. They've beaten the Brooklyn Nets, who we all know are good, and they had everybody healthy for that game. They also have wins against Philadelphia and the Los Angeles Clippers. However, that Philadelphia game was one in which they had a lot of players out with COVID. Philadelphia in that game started Tyrese Maxey, Danny Green, Mike Scott, Joel Embiid, and Texas legend Dakota Mathias. Yes, the sharpshooter out of, I think, Purdue, was starting for Philadelphia in that game. And then the game that they won against the Clippers, they beat them, but they beat them without Kawhi and Paul George healthy in that game. Now, although they have the good wins, like I just mentioned, they also have some bad losses as well, like Dallas. They've lost to Charlotte 2 different times. They've lost to New York, who started out hot and then slowed down quite a bit. And they've also lost to Cleveland, who's better than they were, but this is it's kind of like Dallas for Atlanta. Nobody really knows what this team is yet. Are they actually good defensively, or is it just because of Clint Capella? Are they bad 3-point shooters, or is it just because they're in a funk to start the season? I'm not really sure what they are quite yet. I mean, you look at the team stats right now. They're 3rd in rebounds per game this year. They're averaging 47.3 rebounds per game, which is terrifying for Dallas because Dallas is a notoriously bad rebounding team. But then you look at another stat for Atlanta. They're tied for the 7th most turnovers per game at 14.8. A large part of that is due to Trae Young. And then they're 9th in the league, so it's top 10 in defensive rating at 108.6. So basically they only allow 108 points per game in contests. And It's bad news for Dallas, who hasn't been incredible offensively, but they have looked better as of late. Now, those are the good numbers, besides the turnover percentage, of course, and the turnovers per game. But then you look at the bad numbers, and you kind of look at where, the Hawks fall in terms of lower in the rankings. They're 23rd in the league in three-point percentage at 35.2%. Now, you look at that, and you're like, oh, that's bad. And then you look at Dallas. Dallas is 30th in the NBA at three-point percentage. So, two bad shooting teams coming into this one. Atlanta's also 23rd in the league in steals per game. Obviously not a very notorious number, a very important number, but it does show you that they don't force a lot of turnovers. 6.8 steals per game. And they're not a very efficient team as a whole, as they're 24th in the league in field goal percentage at 44.7%. So, I don't know what this offense is, but it's not incredible, and Trae Young has had a very interesting year. If you've watched many of his games, he's obviously the best player on the floor. No doubt about it. And I'm going to talk more about him here in just a minute. Actually, let's go and get into him now. I was going to talk about Clint Capella first, but let's talk about Trae Young. Trae Young is averaging 26.9 points per game. That is 9th in the NBA, right behind Luka Doncic, who is 7th, actually, in the NBA. He is averaging 9 assists per game this year, which is 3rd in the NBA, right behind Luka Doncic, who is 2nd at 9.4 assists per game. He's averaging 4.2 rebounds, which is pretty remarkable given his size. He's shooting 36.4% from 3, but he shoots a lot of threes. And then he averages 4.2 turnovers per game. Remember, the Hawks are 7th in the league in turnovers per game at 14. Trae Young averages 4.3 of those turnovers per game, or 4.2, which is right behind Harden, who's 4.3 turnovers per game, leads the league for them. And here's the deal with Trae Young. Again, I said it just a second ago. He's the best player on the floor for the Hawks. No doubt about it. He's a great talent, and he's a respectable shooter. But he's not quite what he thinks he is. He kind of tries to play outside of himself a lot, and that hurts Atlanta a lot. That's why they have so many turnovers. He tries to bait players into fouls. The Magic are going to have to watch out for this because Trae Young does this stupid little thing, kind of like Luka, where he gets players on his hip, but whereas Luka will get him on his hip and then get to the basket, Trae Young will just stop, let him bump into him, and then just draw the foul. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it just turns into a turnover or a bad shot. And so Trae Young is a player that you have to keep in check because he could easily burn Dallas for 40 points tomorrow night, and I wouldn't be surprised. But he's also a player that could sink the ship for the Atlanta Hawks in tomorrow night's game. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I'm excited to watch him and Luka go at it. Of course, they will always be tied together due to that trade that went down what seems like forever ago now in 2018 that sent Trae Young to Atlanta and, of course, Luka to Dallas. So I would like to see Josh Richardson guard him. I think that would make the most sense. I think Josh Richardson is probably the quickest and the longest and the best defender that Dallas would have to throw at him. And then that leaves Tim Hardaway Jr. on a guy like Kevin Huerter. Dorian probably on Cam Reddish. Or excuse me, not Tim on Kevin Huerter. Luka on Kevin Huerter. Dorian on Cam Reddish. And then you go Maxi Kleber on John Collins. And Kristaps is going to have to find a way to stop Clint Capella, which brings me to my next point. Clint Capella's been really good this year. Very, very good. Of course, he didn't play last year for the Hawks after getting traded from Houston due to injury, but this year, he's 2nd in the league in rebounds per game at 14.4. 14 rebounds per game. Honestly, I haven't really looked at the stats. I think Luka's probably done it, but I don't know if anybody else has gotten 14 rebounds in a game for the Mavs this year. He leads the league in offensive rebounds per game at 4.8, which means he gets a lot of second chance points, and he's 3rd in the league in blocks per game at 2.4. I'm more concerned. I mean, look, Trae Young is way better than Clint Capella, no doubt about it. But I'm more concerned about Clint Capella in this game than Trae Young because we know Dallas had problems with big men. You looked at Rudy Gobert. He dominated Dallas. Clint Capella is basically a Rudy Gobert starter pack. So you're going to have to find a way to keep him off the boards. Or if you're going to let him get the rebounds, let him only get off defensive rebounds. Don't let him get any offensive boards. Don't let him get second chance points. It's going to be a scary matchup for Porzingis. Might see a lot of Willie Cauley-Stein in this game. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of Boban as well. Capella can run the floor, but he's more of a slow it down kind of big man. So maybe Boban could get some minutes in there. But the thing that scares me about putting Boban in there with Capella and Trae Young running the pick and roll is that Trae Young is really good in the pick and roll, and Capella can catch lobs, and Boban isn't going to be able to sink back fast enough on Capella. So I think this will be up to Willie, up to Dwight, and up to Porzingis and Maxey a little bit. Maybe Maxey gets the assignment on Capella. You let Kristaps chase around John Collins. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm going to be honest, the front line on this Hawks team terrifies the crap out of me. This is the scariest front line I think Dallas has gone up against. Yes, that includes Millsap and Jokic. That includes just straight up Rudy Gobert. This is going to be a scary front line for the Mavs to go up against, but it helps that Dallas has Maxi Kleber back in the mix. Now you look back at last year, Dallas went 1-1 against the Atlanta Hawks, but neither of those games Luka Doncic nor Kristaps Porzingis played in. So the first game they played in, February 1st, Dallas won 123-100. But Dallas started Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber, and Willie Cauley-Stein. Atlanta played all their starters, and Dallas blew them out by 23. And then the second game, February 22nd, Dallas lost, but they started Brunson, Curry, Hardaway, Dorian, and Maxi. I mean, you can't. Most of these times in previews, I like to look back at the games from last year and see what Dallas did well or what Atlanta did well. It doesn't matter because neither of those teams. Atlanta looks so different now with guys like Gallinari coming off the bench, guys like Rondo coming off the bench, who, oh gosh, I hate him so much, and guys like Clint Capella in the lineup. And then for Dallas, they're going to start actual starter level players, not what they started last year against Atlanta. So really, again, not a lot to take away from last year's game. But looking ahead to tomorrow night's game, this feels like a big-time Luka Doncic game. Because if DeAndre Hunter was in, he would probably be the one guarding Luka. But he's not. So it's going to be Cam Reddish, who's long, but, you look at a guy like Bridges, who has better defensive awareness. He's a little bit stronger than Cam Reddish. I don't think Cam Reddish is going to be able to keep up with Luka. If Luka takes him to the paint, I think he's going to dominate him. This smells like, maybe, I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. I know I've made predictions before on the show that have turned out absolutely terrible, but go ahead and write this one down. I'm going to predict Luka has a 35-plus point game tomorrow night against the Atlanta Hawks. I think it's going to be a big game from Luka Doncic, no matter who guards him. Maybe it's Cam Reddish. Maybe they throw Rondo at him off the bench. I don't know who else they would throw at him, but ultimately, I think this is a big-time Luka Doncic game. But again, I already referenced it. I'm going to reference it again. Clint Capella is the biggest problem for the Mavericks. They have to find a way to keep him off the boards and the Hawks off the boards as a whole because they've been a good rebounding team all year long. So I am 100% scared of the front line that Atlanta has, but I'm also 100% confident that this is overall an Atlanta Hawks team that the Dallas Mavericks should be able to beat. Now, the one thing I really will be watching for the most part when it comes to rotations, number one, and I didn't have this written down, but now that I'm thinking about it, if it comes down to a close game and Luka's sitting the first 5 minutes of the fourth quarter again, I'm going to lose my mind. Shouldn't be a close game in the fourth, but if it is, if it gets out of hand at all, Luka should not sit in the fourth quarter. But the second thing is something that Porzingis actually mentioned after the Suns game. He said, I felt better when I was in for longer stretches. I could finally find my rhythm. And he said that, and he said hopefully the coaches can take notice of that. And you know what? Hopefully that's communicated to Dallas, because now I think tomorrow night could be something where you see Porzingis take longer rests, so he sits out for a little bit longer, but maybe he plays longer in the time that he comes in. So he probably plays about the same amount of minutes, but just plays them in longer stints, because there are players that come off the bench and they need time to find their rhythm. And Porzingis is that kind of player. He comes in, he plays 4 quick minutes with the second unit, he gets up as many shots as he can, and it looks bad. But if Porzingis had played, maybe a 6-minute stretch, he used 2 of those minutes to get his shots up, and then the other 4 minutes to just already be warm, there you go. You have a warmed-up Kristaps Porzingis in his rhythm. Now, you look at a guy like Luka, and you're like, well, why can't everyone just do what Luka does and just come off the bench and be ready to go? Because not every player is a top 5 player in the NBA like Luka Doncic. So maybe this is what it takes for Porzingis to get on track, is to give him those extended minutes. But I'm going to be honest. This is a team that I'm scared to watch Porzingis against with Capella and John Collins. Collins is athletic. He's not a great defender. Capella is both of those things. But also, Porzingis could stretch Capella beyond the arc, and that's what I hope he does. Because if Capella gets taken beyond the three-point arc, if he's stretched out at all, the Hawks are going to have trouble guarding the Mavs down low. So, 3 things that I'm watching for. Number 1, a Luka Doncic huge game, 35-plus points. A Kristaps Porzingis performance where he gets a longer stint of minutes. And number 3, can the Mavs keep this front line of the Atlanta Hawks of John Collins and Clint Capella off the boards? Does Trae Young worry me? Absolutely. But you know what? I think Trae Young is easier to contain when it comes down to it. I think the Mavs could be able to do a good job. Now, could get some updates on DeAndre Hunter on Wednesday. I don't think we will. I expect him to be out for this game, but if anything changes, I'll have the updates for you here on All Things Mavs. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. If you haven't already, click that big red subscribe button. It means the world. Next subscriber giveaway is going to happen at 4,000 subscribers. I have you can see my chest of drawers right here. One of these drawers is just filled with Mavericks t-shirts. Like I have so many that I've collected from, free ones at games that I've just bought, that I've had given to me. And I have so many of them that I'm deciding right now. And also, of course, my All Things Mavs shirts, which I will continue to give away as well. I'm just going to start deciding, you know what? Every 1,000 subscribers, I'll give away a Mavs shirt. I'll choose one, and it's a free giveaway. So, you just got to click that subscribe button, tell your friends, tell your family, make sure you subscribe. If you are subscribed, you're automatically entered to win. Thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode. I'll be back with a post-game recap tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Click that like button, and as always, go Mavs, baby.